Hey, friends. How are you? Hello, hello. It's Angela here. And we are on week 9, if you can believe it, of It's Never Too Late to Begin Again by Julia Cameron, Discovering Creativity and Meaning at Midlife and Beyond. So, wow, I can't believe we're already at week 9. Like I stuck a bobby pin in there, like 3/4 of the way done the book already. That's crazy. So I'd love to hear from you. Tell me if you're following along with me. Leave me a comment and let me know what week you're on. And as you know, if you've been following along, you can start this at any time that you like. You can pick up on video number 1. It's the one that doesn't have any week 1. It just says starting the book. And then each video, there's a week 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and now is going to be 9. And you can start anytime you want and follow along with us. The other thing is you can go ahead and finish the whole thing even faster than us if you really want to. It's all good. So I just went and threw a cozy sweater on because it's a little bit chilly in here. It's like sunny outside, but we're kind of in between right now, like lighting our wood stove and not lighting it, but being a little chilly, but not quite, like still have to light it later on in the evening. So I'm trying to go as long as I can. So anyway, now I'm all cozy in my sweater. So for those of you guys who are brand new, what this is we're going through a 12-week book study at your own pace. And basically it's a journaling study. So I have a journal here that I have multiple journals, but I'm following along doing the questions. So you do not need the book, just so you know. I like to mention that in each video. You don't have to, but if you'd like to order it, I have a link below in the videos, in all the videos for the book on Amazon. And that is the cheapest place that I think you can get it. Also, I read bits of the book to you, the most highlighted things that mean something to me. And so I feel like you don't need to buy it, but if you want to, of course, you can go totally more deep on it. And I read out all the questions, the journaling prompts and stuff to you, so you don't have to have it. So on that note, let's get started. Week 9. I still can't believe it. I've been finding lately, I don't know where my time's going. And so this is a really great week because it's called Reigniting a Sense of Motion, and time has been escaping on me. And this is why we're going to be talking about productivity and getting things done. And so if you guys know me from before or any other things, you know that that's a favorite topic of mine, and I absolutely love talking about productivity and getting things done, because there's just so many times in life we can lose clarity and get stuck on things. And so it's really easy to get into a cycle where you're in a hole and you can't seem to get out and you don't know what to do next. So this is a really good chapter. All right. So she starts out with, often we feel stuck, not because we don't know what to do next, but because we do know what to do next. We just don't feel like doing it. Sorry, I forgot to grab my glasses. This week, you will examine your gentle next right steps and how to allow yourself to take them. Looking back in your memoir, you may be able to identify a highly active or productive time in your life. Where did this lead you? Personally, creatively, financially? Did that period impact your life today? Does recalling how you spent your energy then influence how you want to spend it now? There's always a way to move forward in productivity. So, because this book is all about midlife or retirement time or reinventing yourself and your life, it talks a lot about people in retirement, but I also see it as just in changing your career in midlife or starting over when your children have all moved out, all those sorts of things. I can really relate to them in this book. So you don't have to be a retiree or anything. So when she uses that word retiree, it can just mean life transition, midlife transition, change, something for you. So even career change, of course, right? Because you're changing jobs. And so she says many retirees face a two-pronged problem. What can they do to feel productive without working? Commonly, when working a job or career, productivity is defined in terms of other people's expectations. The companies, the bosses, the clients. We receive a paycheck for our efforts on behalf of a external goal set by someone else. Retired, we find ourselves needing to redefine productivity and set our own goals. We need to ask ourselves, how am I doing? And answer by our own lights. So for me, setting goals, that's not a problem. I have so many goals. Like I've had goals my entire life that I've wanted to reach and do. And my biggest thing is that I struggle to feel like I have a long enough life to actually get them all in. I want to do so many things. I'm one of those kind of multi-passionate people that really want to just do so many things. And what happens when you're a multi-passionate person who wants to do all these things is you tend to be a person I consider not a finisher. So do you know what I mean by that? You tend to be not all the time. You may be doing a million things and finishing them, but you probably have also a million projects that you started and never finished. And that's the hard thing, because a lot of times those people like me, we want to not forget all these ideas and thoughts that we have, even if we have a journal and we write them down. Sometimes it's really hard to not be, when you're a doer person, to not and have too many goals, to not start something just so you don't forget these brilliant ideas that we have. And that gets us into a lot of trouble, because then we feel overwhelmed with all the stuff we have started, and we still have all the new things we want to start, but we've got these piles and piles of ideas and things we haven't finished yet. So to me, that's something that I need to address and I need to work on in my journal. And so if that's something for you to focus on, sometimes I taught a course once years ago on completing unfinished projects. And I did it along with everybody in the group, and it was really powerful. And I got so many things done, and I realized so many of the projects that were important and weren't important, and was able to get rid of those out of my mind, and took up a lot of space having all of that thought that I didn't finish all these things. That in the end, I narrowed down what was really important and what wasn't, and finished those things and felt really great. So I don't know if that will help you, but that has nothing to do with the book. That's just how I did things. So she goes to say, productivity means different things at different times in our lives. Goals we set in retirement may be very different from goals we set when we're working. They may seem too small or too big. The freedom that they can be anything might be overwhelming to the point of paralyzing. I have found that there are simple tricks to jumpstart productivity, though, and once a project had begun, it tends to take on an energy of its own. And I believe that once I get the project rolling, if I don't get stalled out, it does take on an energy of its own. And it's great when that happens, but sometimes that doesn't happen. So that's when these things can be a great tips. She says, I'm thinking of what my next project will be and how I'll get myself to begin it. Sometimes bribing myself, I'm much happier. And when I'm happier, I'm more productive. So I don't do that. I don't bribe myself, but that's one of her techniques that she claims works for her. Like if you tell yourself you're going to buy yourself some new outfit, if you finish something, sometimes that really works for people. And it's a great tip. And other people, it doesn't work for. Like I wouldn't be excited about getting a new outfit if I finish this thing. I think I want the result of completion, the feeling of something finished. That's what I love, is that then I feel the sense of accomplishment that I completed something. So, but if that works for you, that's a really great tip. So the first thing that we're going to write in our journal, she's got your first task. So she wants to answer the following questions. I used to feel productive when? I now feel productive when? I suspect I would feel productive if I'd secretly like to, and a small bribe that would entice me to begin is, and feel free to stop this whenever you want, pause it, and write those things down. So that's the next step, is to answer those productivity questions. Now, taking action. Many of us have spent years dreaming of what we want to create, but dreaming and doing are two different things. Oh, yes, that's true. When we dream of what to create, yet take no actions, that's when we find ourselves feeling lazy, but it is not laziness that stops us. We need to call things by their right names. What stops us is actually fear, but the inability to get started is not something that is uncorrectable. We can ask for guidance in this first small step forward to overcome the feeling and the pain of being stuck. So in your journal, you can write questions like, what do I need to do? And then you can get a response from that, because usually we know what to do. We just don't want to do that next step because it seems so giant. But once we move into action, we can again gain self-esteem. And I agree with that. Once we start doing things and learning things, it's exciting. We value our actions. We value ourselves for taking those actions. Then we start to see a sense of power. We find ourselves guided and guarded. As we act in the direction of our dreams, we are given strength and courage. That first brushstroke leads to the second. That first word writing leads to the next. Our capacity to create is tied to our capacity for faith and optimism. However small that is, grow with every little positive action. So taking action, the more actions that you do, the more baby steps that you do, the more momentum you're going to create. And I know that to be true. But what can also happen is you are creating a lot of momentum, and then something happens and you're out of your routine, and it's really a hard time to get back into it. And that's when you just need to just start taking those small little tiny steps, and hopefully that will start to reignite your project again. It's because it's up to us to nurture it and sustain it. She uses an example of this lady, Judith. She tells lots of stories in here about different people. And the lady says, why can't I just start? She wondered, as she spent her days pondering the cause of her procrastination rather than working on the project itself. And haven't you done that before? I have done that so many times. I have procrastinated and I'm trying to figure out why I don't want to do it. And I'm think later, like how far I would be if I had just started when I wanted to start. And everybody does it. You're human. That's normal. So it's just one of those things that we have to do. We have to just take that first step and do something and not get caught up on, oh, now I don't know where I am because I've been stopped for so long. We just got to do something small to get back into it. Like maybe it's just opening up your computer or getting a pen and paper out, and thinking of where to begin, make a bullet point list kind of thing. She says, Judith's story is not unique. Many people find themselves unable to be self-starting. Not all of them can pick up the reins of a career they had set aside. For those who have a problem with self-starting, morning pages are a great place to begin. They are a daily, consistent, productive action, and doing them in conjunction with other tools changes your trajectory and sets us into motion. So I forgot in the middle of, or the beginning of this video, that Julie Cameron also has a book called The Artist's Way. This is another shoot off book of that book, where she also declares that we're going to do 3 longhand pages of morning pages. It could be bullet points, it could be whatever, but journaling first thing in the morning to kind of brain dump everything out of your mind. And so when I say morning pages, that's what she's referring to. And then when she says artist date, that means doing something by yourself, doing a special thing by yourself, going to a coffee shop and reading with a beautiful cup of coffee, or going to a bookstore, or going to a fabric store, or having a painting class, or whatever it is for you, going to the mall and just going into all the stores and trying things on. I have no idea, whatever that is for you, but a time for yourself, something you really love to do. Maybe it's a hike by yourself that you've really wanted to go on, whatever. But that time to think and get clarity and just enjoy yourself. And it's a real good creative spark as well. This is a time of open choices and opportunity. When the possibilities feel endless, it's exciting to go ahead and try our hand at anything that inspires or calls to us. And she talks about this fellow Dave. Dave loved teaching, and the loaves that he produced, I think he was a baker. Is this the guy? I think he was a bread baker. Yes, the loaves that he produced were loved by one and all. The more I do, the more I do, the more I want to do. The more I sit around, the more I want to sit around. And it's the sitting around that's actually hard. Indeed, it is far harder and more painful to be a blocked artist or a creative person than it is to actually do the work. Because when we're blocked, everything feels impossible. But when we actually take action, even the tiniest ones, this once impossible task seems easy. And so whenever we have a big project, obviously the best idea is to break down the project into the smallest steps that you can and start at the beginning to give you a little bit of that momentum. And she talks about as we remember our dreams and our goals and our reasons for not pursuing them become transparent. So the next journal prompts that we're going to do is, she says, list 5 actions you dream of taking. So the first one is, and you can write these down, is list 5 large actions. So number 1 to 5, and then fill in 5 large actions that you dream of doing. Examples, she has writing a novel, traveling the world, putting an addition on the house, painting a self-portrait, learning the drums. And then now list another 5 points, number 1 to 5. And what tiny action can you take in the direction of each of these larger actions? So for writing a novel, her thing would be list areas of interest. For traveling the world, number 2 would be go to a travel store. For number 3, putting an addition on the house would be to read magazines and get ideas. And number 4, painting a self-portrait, if that's what you want to do. Give your sketch quickly yourself. And learning to play the drums. Begin with a bongo. Just whatever little step that is for you. The smaller the action, the better. Baby steps are actually big, turn into big things. And they really, really do. So this is where we're kind of pulling the whole book together. And we're taking those dreams and goals and ego and fear, and we're pushing those to the sides and deciding that we're going to take action on these big goals and dreams. Now, here's an interesting topic inside of this chapter called Money Matters. So I guess she wants to discuss money matters because entering retirement or midlife, it's time to get a grasp on how you want to spend your money. And spending along the lines of your true values. Some of us worked very hard in our jobs without enjoying much more about our jobs than a paycheck than they provided. But in retirement, we can work at jobs for fun that allow us to explore our creativity or may even bring a paycheck. And not everybody is at that point, honestly, that a lot of people have to work a lot more years than the current retirement. Some people have an amazing retirement and are super lucky in the fact that they have a big pension or pensions or whatever that is, or savings. But a lot of people don't. And with the way that the world is with the inflation and the prices, it's really important to get a handle on your finances and know where you stand. I can definitely understand that. So what she wants you to do next is realize that, like, become midlife, it just creeps upon you. It's just creeping upon me. Day by day, I feel like, how did I even get here? You know, when we're young, if we had more thought on things, we would have had more savings, but you don't know because you don't know what you don't know. She says retirees are often on a tighter budget than they were working. And this is what the people that I know, how they feel. And in retirement, spending must be approached with a new awareness. What is really important to us? Where can we trim away the fat? Is there a balance of fun spending? And is there a way to find this balance? So what she calls is basically all it is tracking and counting. So basically, she talks about some people that they forget about themselves and they spend a lot of money on other people and trying to please people and doing things for other people and forget about yourself and your budget. And basically wants you to try counting for the week. So the task is try writing every single thing down for 1 week, every penny in and every penny out. That includes large and small payments, buying a car, a newspaper, finding a coin on the ground. Everything counts. Write it down, and by the end of the week, look back at your spending. I would say to do that for a month. Your patterns will reveal themselves to you with clarity. I think a month is more realistic of tracking everything because then you'll have a really great breakdown of what's going in and out, what you're purchasing for food rather than, and bills and everything all in 1 month. So, I mean, that can sound like super overwhelming task for sure. I definitely don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. I think it is really important to know what you have coming in and out, and if you're wasting a lot of money and where you can trim. I think that's super important. And if you don't have to worry about that and money's not an issue for you, that's great. But you also don't know how long you are going to live for. And so that's important too, because I remember when my grandma was saying, my grandpa died, I believe he was 85 or 81. I can't remember. Feels like yesterday, but he had multiple myeloma, and which is interesting because for me to have AL amyloidosis and multiple myeloma, apparently you're only one split cell difference away from each other. So that kind of was strange when I first found out because it's in the family, and could that be hereditary? But anyway, I remember my grandma saying, well, I'm not going to live very much longer. I'm not going to live till I'm 100 or anything. And here she is 94. So, and she was in her late 70s at the time. So you just don't know. Nobody really actually knows. So that's the second task, is to start tracking and counting. And you can do that in your journal that you're keeping, your memoir. You could do that on a separate piece of paper, in a book, whatever. You don't have to get all fancy and have a budgeting book and everything like that, but you can if you want to, if it inspires you that way. The next little chapter is being called the career caretaker. This is funny to me because this is definitely me. I have seen many times in my retired students, those that careers were once of service that had an extra time shifting their focus in retirement. Nurses, doctors, teachers, chefs, there's so many more than this that she lists, whose job was never done, often having the most trouble adjusting to not working. Whenever a person is ready to retire, and even when they are exhausted, feeling like they're not needed causes a shock. When someone's purpose has always been to care for others, the transition to retirement and self-care can be difficult. Now, I once had, when I was a care aide at one time, I had a client who, and I'm not retired by any means, I'm just learning life. For those of you that haven't followed along, I'm just starting over in my life because of cancer and my heart transplant. And that's why this book really inspired me to begin and realize that I need to start again. And I saw the title, It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. And I was like, that is me. I'm doing that. Plus I am going to be 49 this year. So I'm really getting there. But what was I thinking? I lost my thought. Oh, when I was a care aide, I had a client and I went to her house 3 times a day, and I worked for WCB, and they took care of her because it was a WCB covered accident. And so she was paralyzed from the breast down. And she became like one of my best friends. And it was so difficult. So difficult. So I would go to her house 3 times a day because I would, first of all, get her out of bed into the washroom and showered and everything. And then I would get her into her wheelchair for the day. And then I would go home. And then I would come back midday and help her with food and or groceries and cleaning and her meds and whatever else during the middle of the day. There was lots of things to do. And then in the evening, get her out of her wheelchair, all that work stuff, and get back into bed. And yeah, we became like best friends. And I was like a caretaker. And when she passed away at 54, I was devastated. I didn't see it coming at all. Well, nobody did. It was really, really quick. She ended up passing away from I don't know, it's going to come to me. I'm just thinking about her makes me so sad. But she got that bacteria in her blood that she couldn't fight it anymore. It was really sad. But I felt that same feeling of who am I? I was her best, that was my best friend. I took care of her, and that was my main client that I had. And like, there's this thought that we go through, even when we're exhausted, that you almost don't know what to do with yourself, because I was so of needed such an emotional, I was going through so much grief that I didn't want and start with new clients right away. I wanted a break from that. And then I ended up doing a whole career change because it was so traumatic with what everything happened. I ended up being the one beside her when she passed away, holding her hand all by myself. And it was really, really rough. But I know what that feeling is, taking care of yourself, when you can you can forget about yourself because you've been so consumed with helping everyone else. And that was on top of raising 3 children and having a spouse and taking care of my home and my family and things like that. So the next task in your journal is list 3 times you put more energy into a relationship than you got out of it. Now, that wasn't my case because she gave back, and she gave me so much back as a friend. But this is for times or relationships that you put more energy in than got out of. So I have different people for that list, that's for sure. And if a memory is loaded or painful, allow yourself to write for 5 minutes about this relationship. I think that can be so powerful. I have some really interesting things that came up, and if you're willing to be vulnerable and share, I'd love to hear from you in the comments about what that is for you. You don't need to put names on there or anything if you don't want to. But just noticing those things, and it's almost like a release of that. Or maybe you can see yourself continuing to fall into those types of patterns and relationships where the needy people you're always that person for the needy people. Or maybe you can see that was in the past, that was a pattern for you, and that you don't do that anymore. It just brings up interesting patterns and things that you can look at and dissect and say, do I really want to be that person still or not? Now, number 1 to 10. List 10 things that you could do to spoil yourself. Things you would easily do for others, but rarely or never do for yourself. Circle one thing on this list and do that thing. So, are you willing to share what that one thing would be for you of the 10 things that you would do to spoil yourself? I'd love to know. Tell me what kind of things you can do. I feel like reading a book with a really nice cup of like coffee or French vanilla or a nice cup of tea is so like nourishing to me, and setting time aside to read for me is like time spoiling myself because I feel like I don't have enough time, and I got a bookcase of books. Oh, speaking of that, where's that book I showed you guys last week? And that's what I've been doing for myself. So there, I shared my spoiling myself because I consider that spoiling myself, but I shared that book with you about the Gladys McCary, The Well-Lived Life. She's a 103-year-old doctor and her 6 secrets to health and happiness at any age. I am already on page, I've been putting myself first, and I'm on page 121, and I'm at least about perfectly halfway done. So I'm really excited. It could be done if I put myself even more first, but honestly, I'm just taking little snippets of my day and trying to give myself those little positive bubbles because I have so much going on that I could fall into constant negativity with my health and different things going on in my life. But I don't want to hover in that and stay in that too long. I mean, everybody gets trapped in that mode, but I don't want to stay in there permanently. I want to get myself out. And those little things like taking a really great book like this or the one that we're doing, of course, this one, take your time and read your chapter. It's like nourishing to the soul. Writing in your journal, having a hot bubble bath, buying yourself a new bag. Um, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Maybe you're going to buy yourself a budget book. Like, oh, I could show you something really cool too. That I got that I want to start using that I haven't really done anything yet with. I did a few little things that I got to start fresh because I lost my mojo. But I got this little budget planner on Amazon, and it's really cute. It has, I don't know if you can see, all sorts of different things. I don't know if the layout's going to be any good, that I'm going to like it, but at least there is a section for this one, daily expenses. That's all I need, is to write down everything coming in and out. And that's all I really need to see for a while, is what is actually coming in and what is actually going out for this counting task that we have in this book. So yeah, that's exciting. I want to do that. So maybe it's buying yourself a little budgeting book, something. Yeah, I like the size of it. Might be okay. It looks like it's got a bit more detail stuff than I want. I just kind of want listing stuff, but I'm going to break stuff down into separate, like business stuff and home stuff and household bill stuff and this and that. So that's what I'm doing. If you wouldn't mind sharing what you're doing, I would love to hear from you. Tell me what you're doing to spoil yourself. And if you want to share your list of 1 to 10 things, that would be even better, of all the things you really want to do. Okay, so the next thing is called forward motion. The next right thing. Instead of focusing on the big picture, focus on the small. For most of us, it's not too difficult to figure out a small step forward. The next right thing might be to very simply make your bed, do the dishes, take out the trash. Each small step dictates the next small step. Making your bed leads to hanging up your clothes. Hanging up your clothes leads to making your bed. Oh, I know what hanging up your clothes does. Hanging up my clothes led to color coding my clothes and decluttering my clothes and getting rid of a lot of stuff with my girlfriend. And that led to painting a room and redecorating it and in a tiny little room, turning every furniture around and decluttering it and making it like so much nicer. And that's something I wanted to do for 3 years, and I just checked that off my list. So that was like productivity, boom. I was so excited about that one. So that is so true. Starting something can really, really, really lead to the next. And if you are like a person like I am, and you start decluttering, what happens is you will declutter a drawer and then you will declutter the next drawer, but you're not done this drawer yet. And this is half done and that's half done. And then, oh, I'm going to start in the bedroom doing that. And then, oh, I should do under the sink. And by the time you're done, you have 3 garbage bags of stuff to go to the share shed or the Goodwill, and it feels amazing. But you do got to get in the mode and on a roll. So that is the next thing, forward motion that she's talking about. And she definitely talks about cleaning and tidying has a great payoff as a forward motion, because as you clean, you can also receive new ideas. And I agree with that, because that's where the inspiration came with in the bedroom. As I decluttered and removed things, I realized, what do I actually want to use this room for? Because it was my son's room and now he's kind of older and working and on his own, and it's more of, it's still always be his bedroom, but it's also a spare room. And how do I want it to look when people come? It was a giant cluttered disaster. If you haven't looked, if you want a before and after, go on my Instagram page at Buckridge Homestead and look at the before and after of the bedroom, and you can see the change. It's pretty awesome. I mean, for it, it's just a small change, but I called it the $40 room redo. And all it was basically a can of paint, a paintbrush, a drop cloth, and reorganizing, decluttering crap that was in that room and bringing in different pieces of furniture from a different room and using what I had. So I found that to be like a budget friendly way of trying to do a room refresh without costing a lot. So that was really fun and motivating. And then I felt really productive after. So yeah, doing the next right thing can feel almost magical when the cycle of motion is initiated. Don't overthink what the next right thing is. It will be something small, easy, or something that appeals to the imagination. And there's a bunch of quotes in here, but I like the one that says, progress lies not in enhancing what is, but in advancing towards what will be. Khalil Gibran. So I love that. So this week has been really productive. I've done the room during the week of this topic, reigniting a sense of motion. I have done the proper things. The only thing I have not done is took myself on like an artist date, which is take myself and go do something special. So I do have to get caught up on those. I owe myself a couple of those. I've been doing the writing. I've definitely been doing the walking. And if I couldn't walk outside, I would pedal on my exercise bike in the house or walk to a walking workout video. And that's something that just to get my steps in that I can do at home. So I have done that, but I do owe myself those artist dates. I'm not 100% sure what I want to do, but I know that they're not in this town. I want to go to the next town over, which is like an hour and a half. And there's lots and lots of ideas there that I want to do. So I just have to book a day and book a time in my calendar to actually make that time for me to do it. So if you have to do that, set that time aside for yourself and do the thing too. And I will come back to you in week 10 and tell you what I did, because I really want to do it. So just here's our weekly check-in. How many days did you do your morning pages? How was your experience doing them? Did you do a creative date with yourself? And if you did you discover anything more that you'd like to explore? Did you take your walks? Did you notice anything along the way or have any aha moments? Did you experience any synchronicity this week? And what was it? Oh my goodness, I wanted to write this down. I was cooking and I had this moment. If I can think about it, I'm going to share with you next week if I can figure it out. I'm waiting for it to come back to me so I can write it down, but I did have a synchronicity moment. And it was almost, it wasn't a deja vu moment. It was something synchronicity. And it was amazing. And I remember saying it out loud. Oh my goodness, that was, yeah, I got to think of it. But I had one. And that doesn't even count because I didn't write it down. Bad me. I got to write things down, my memory. What did you find in your memoir that you'd like to explore more fully? How would you like to explore it? And remember that all these tasks and things are just creating your memoir. So your journal is basically your memoir. These are just tasks and notes and things you can read later. And I think it's really cool to file it away and read it at a later time. But at the end, you can burn it if you're worried about somebody reading all the stuff, or you can recycle it or whatever you want to do. But I sure find it interesting to open a journal in a couple of years and see where I was and compare it to where I am now. It's pretty powerful. So, what action are you going to take this week? Don't worry, just keep moving forward. So, what small steps are you going to do to put some action and motion into your week with on the topic of money, productivity, budgeting, taking action, because it can really boost your sense of well-being by feeling like you've accomplished something. And like that fellow she referred to, I think his name was Dave, the more you sit, the more you want to sit. The less you do, the less you want to do. And it's really true. So take that little nugget with you and remember that any step towards any kind of action is productive and that you are worth it. You are worth investing any little time and motion into. So go back and remember, what are your big dreams or goals, and what are your little small goals? Like mine was to do that room, but the room felt so overwhelming. But by starting with just the clothes and decluttering them and getting less stuff, it pushed me into that mode of, okay, now I can do this. Okay, now I can maybe get rid of some furniture, and now I can start painting, and now I can put it back together. And it was like, wow, that was 2 days, and it was been on my list to do for 2.5 years. So go do the thing. You guys got this. And I will be with you next week on week 10, reigniting a sense of vitality. Ooh, that sounds interesting. Let's see what she says as the brief sentence. This week focuses on developing a healthy sense of self-protection, thus giving us the strength and clarity we need in challenging situations. Buried dreams are the calling cards of a true identity. When we honor our true identity, vitality is the reward. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, guys, I will see you in week 10. Yay, I can't wait. Please share with me any comments or moments or synchronicity moments you have. Tell me if you received your book in the mail, for those guys of you that you ordered your book and you were waiting for it. And I will see you next week. Bye, friends.